Prick up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits.
My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans. Crank it up. My favorite sound, the silence before the lights go green. Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cool. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud.
Hello and welcome to the Lausitzring. It is sunny here and we've got a full house and we're excited for the third race weekend to begin. And I'm here with a man who won here both races last year. And Jamie Green, today you're starting in P2, so it's looking very promising today.
Yeah, quali was pretty good. As you said, second on the grid gives me a decent chance. I managed to win from second on the grid here last year on Saturday. So, but this year's a lot hotter. Car behaviour is a bit different. So, you know, I'm not taking anything for granted. But obviously, on the front row, I'm in well positioned, and we'll see what the race brings.
All right, thank you so much. Best of luck for the race. We've got a hop on board. And actually last weekend he managed third place. So here's a summary of Spielberg.
The fourth race of the season produced the fourth different winner. Timo Glock crowned his strong performance at Spielberg and celebrated the third race win of his DTM career.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the races you dream of, I would say. You know, we had a plan before the race. With the pit stop, we knew we can, you know, the chance to attack is in stint one before the pit stop, and that's what we did.
What Glock did on Sunday, Marco Wittmann had done on Saturday, winning the race. Therefore, BMW was the benchmark in Austria, but also because of its impressive overall performance, with 6 drivers in the top 10 on both days. Mercedes, on the other hand, had a terrible weekend. Paul di Resta was the only one to score points with his 7th place in the first race, which at least was enough to defend his lead in the drivers' standings. We managed to keep the damage limited. Here at Spielberg, our performance really wasn't good. Gary Paffett started from P21 and was on his way to a point-scoring finish. But after this manoeuvre by Audi driver Timo Scheider, his progress remained unrewarded. Gary had deserved it, but our friend Timo once again lived up to his Spielberg reputation. Audi had it all, but didn't get the full reward as it couldn't do more against the dominance from the Munich-based brand at Spielberg. Third place in the first race for title candidate Eduardo Mortara, and second place in the second race for 2-times champion Matthias Ekström, who kept fellow Audi driver Jamie Green at bay. Green scored his first points of the season, and now he wants to attack at Lausitzring, where he scored a pair of wins last year.
And I'm here with a pole setter, Miguel Molina. Fantastic job you did in the qualifying. Are you hoping to get your second victory in your DTM career today?
That's the aim, that's the goal. So we will try to fight until the end.
All right, very good answer. So let's see. Back to you guys.
Oh, Verena, thank you very much indeed. Welcome to Lausitzring, a big crowd here to enjoy what is going to be a fantastic race, I'm sure. I was about to say, Chris, Hartley in the sunshine, but it's clouded over a little bit now, so I wonder if that will affect the temperatures that Jamie Green was saying. You know, it just might affect the car behaviour because it has been blisteringly hot all day.
Yeah, it's been up to 30 degrees around about half an hour ago. It is not a circuit that's particularly hard on tyres, Hankook was saying. Not obviously, we've got the oval section, but there aren't that many fast corners here. Fairly smooth surface, but it is quite bumpy as well in terms of the undulation underneath the tarmac. So that's the most difficult thing in terms of setting the cars up. It's anti-clockwise as well, which is something different to the other circuits, and it's the shortest lap that we have, so it's fast and furious out there.
So there is Timo Glock, and he was in a press conference at the start of the weekend, and seems to be in a very good place, of course, coming off the back of a victory. And you mentioned about the undulating. Certainly when we were talking to Dieter Gas from Audi yesterday, he was saying that something that you don't recognise necessarily here at Lausitzring is the fact that it is very bumpy.
Yeah, to do with the ground under the surface as well. And that's something that changes each year. So it was perhaps surprised that Audi did so well here last year. They took the first 3 places in one race, the first 5 places in another. Jamie Green with the 2 wins, but had to go back to 2004 before they won a race here previously. So it has been historically a Mercedes circuit.
Okay, here's the grid for race 1 of this weekend. Miguel Molina then P1 and Jamie Green alongside him from P2.
On the second row of the grid, we've got Marco Wittmann and Robert Wickens alongside.
Best placed Mercedes, Robert Wickens. Then we see 2 together in the same colour scheme for Lucas Auer and Christian Vettoris going P5 and P6.
Next row of the grid, 7th and 8th, Matthias Ekstrom and Maxime Martin.
To the next row of the grid, and we find Adrien Tombe and Nico Muller on row 5.
Just outside the top 10, then Gary Paffett, 11th on the grid, and another former champion, Mike Rockenfeller, 12th.
Timo Glock and Eduardo Mortara perhaps both be disappointing with P13 and P14.
Bruno Spengler has struggled. He is 15th on the grid. Newcomer Esteban Ocon, the F3 champion, is alongside him.
Then we see Timo Scheider and Tom Blomqvist.
And then towards the back of the grid, 19th and 20th, Antonio Felix da Costa and Max Gotts, who picked up a penalty for an infringement, a blocking infringement in qualifying.
Then we see Paul de Resta and Daniel Juncadella. 2 Mercedes together there on row 11.
And at the very back of the grid, Augusto Farfus and Martin Tomczyk. We can hear now from BMW, from Jens Marquardt, who's speaking to Verena.
Jens Marquardt, you've got definitely good position. P3, you've got Wittmann, and in P8, you've got Maxime Martin. I know it's not exactly BMW's favorite racetrack, but come on, P3 is pretty promising.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Definitely this year we were a lot better than last year. I think it helped that the weather was really nice and warm, and that the tires we really got to work in a better way. And yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, obviously there was a weight adjustment as well, so we'll have to see. I think it's still a tough job, and we have to get through the first corners clean. But I have good faith. I mean, Marco really knows what to do, and also Maxime. And then we'll have to see. It's 40 minutes racing.
And also the weather is changing a little bit. It's overcast a little bit. So do you think that plays into your cards?
Nah, I think it's going to be on and off with the sun and the clouds, but luckily I think no rain expected, so that should be okay. It's nice and warm. The asphalt is really warm, so I think good setup for a good race.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Jens Marquardt, and back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena. So Jens then, quietly confident probably, I think, and there we can see Adrien Tombe about to get into his car. Going from P9 on the grid. We're just in the grid animation in full for you. So P9 for Adrien Tombe. And there is Maxime Martin, who is P8, the BMW driver, the Belgian. And Maxime Martin's 116.901, giving him P8 on the grid for his M4 DTM car. Continue our look through the grid and where people are placed just ahead of the race. Matthias Ekstrom comes here off the back of another rallycross success where he whooped everyone in the UK at Lydden Hill in the last round of rallycross. He's going from P7 today, of course, was on the podium last time out, Chris.
That's right, and one of the 8 champions we've got on the grid, 2004 and 2007 DTM champion, and also a multiple Race of Champions winner as well. Christian Vettoris is a driver with a good record here in recent years. He was second in 2014. He was on the podium in 2013 as well. Didn't quite make it in 2015, but he went well, looked good in qualifying with the Muka Motorsport team this year alongside Lucas Auer, who hasn't scored any points this season, Dave, but has been topping the times in free practice sessions. He was quickest yesterday in free practice, second quickest in the free practice session this morning, and Lucas Auer is going to be alongside his teammate on the third row of the grid. There he is.
So yes, Lucas Auer, very quick in free practice and quick too in qualifying. A P5 position for Lucas Auer. Those 2 pink Mercedes cars together there of Lucas Auer and Christian Vettoris. And best placed Mercedes is the P4 driver, Robert Wickens. See what Robert can do from P4 on the grid for the Canadian start. There's a real motorsport festival here at the Lausitzring. And the DTM starting grid for race 5 you can see on screen now as the turbine to the very left of your picture turns behind the main grandstand, which I have to say, Chris, is full of spectators really enjoying the race action.
That's right. It's a great lineup this weekend with DTM and all the many support races of 4 and 2-wheel variety that we've got. So it's great to see the weather that we've got. We've got a huge amount of fans as ever in DTM, and we usually get some excellent racing around this circuit as well. Qualifying, as you saw, was pretty close, not quite as tight as it was at Spielberg, but remember the results of qualifying have affected the weights of the cars now. So Audi get 5 kilograms added on, all of the Audis. That's based on the fastest Audi driver. 5 kilograms lost though for BMW. What about Mercedes though? Let's find out what their hopes are for the race. Uli Fritz is down there with Verena on the grid.
Uli Fritz, you've got 3 cars in the top 6 and 4, 5 and 6, so let's call them your 3 musketeers. And let's face it, the last 10 years this was definitely a Mercedes-Benz racetrack. So how optimistic are you to be ending up on podium today?
Yeah, I think difficult to say. It was very, very close in qualifying. We got 3 cars into the top 10, so that was a good start, I would say. But yeah, also I think the other ones look pretty strong, and yeah, we will see.
So you're ready to attack. Do you think you might have to overthink your strategy in regards to the weather, or not really?
Yeah, it looks unstable to be honest, but our weather prediction at least says it stays dry for the next 40 minutes or 50 minutes, so we will see.
Good, it's a short race. So thank you very much, best of luck, and back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. So the next 40, 50 minutes, as Uli Fritz says, definitely going to stay dry. I don't think there's any hint of any rain, is there, Chris? I just think there is a sudden, probably a drop in the air temperature, but the track temperature, it will take a while for that to cool down, won't it?
Slightly wary of saying that. I've been at the Nürburgring last weekend, where it was raging hot 1 minute, and about 40 minutes later it was snowing. Yes. Who knows? But it does look pretty good. Yeah, no, it's forecast to be dry and sunny for the whole weekend. We've had some pretty wet races here in the past at the Lausitzring, haven't you? But no, I don't think we're going to have any of that. All on the dry, the slick tyres, the Hankooks there. It's the shorter of the 2 races, so it's a sprint race, essentially. They consider the championship, and, well, BMW are up there in their numbers, but in terms of the top 3, Dave, it's a Mercedes driver first, an Audi driver second, and a BMW driver third, which shows you how close it's been.
Absolutely. 3 points now, Paul di Resta. The margin has reduced somewhat due to Eduardo Mortara's success and lack of success for Paul di Resta last time out. And of course, just looking at the grid, he's going from P21, so he's going to have a devil of a job, isn't he, to reinforce his slight margin that he has at the moment. He has. Right, let's hear from Audi right now, and Dieter Gass is with Verena.
Dieter Gass has got to be a happy man with Audi in the front row and 5 Audis in the top 10. But if we're looking into the sky, a few clouds, but does it still mean sunny skies for Audi today, do you think?
I hope so, yes. Honestly, I don't mind about the clouds as long as it's not raining out of them. But I think the fresher temperatures are not bad for us. So it's important to have a good start, have a good first corner, don't get into each other's way, and then I hope we can have a similar result to what the grid actually is.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you so much, Dieter Gass. And now back to you guys.
Thanks so much, Verena. Now, interestingly, both Dieter Gass and Jens Marquardt have just said, providing we get through the first corner, okay?
Because it's so tight down there, isn't it? So essentially, if you've not seen the Lausitzring before, if you're fans of British racing, it's got similarities with Rocking. It was built about the same time. It's an oval circuit, but there's an infield section. But they use part of the oval. So the start-finish straight is on the oval circuit, but then they turn off through a very tight left-hander. So a left at turn 1, straight into a right at turn number 2, and that flows almost directly then into turn 3. So it kind of all funnels up together. It gets pretty tight, narrow. That's one of the slower parts of the course as well, so they're hard on the brakes into there when they're approaching at full speed. There is the run into turn 1, and it's a slight downhill section as well, isn't it, coming out of that left-hander?
We stood there for much of yesterday, didn't we, watching the cars going through.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's not until you actually stand right by the side of the track you realise how much of a downhill section it is, as well as that very, very tight turn. So interesting that both or 2 of the manufacturers' chiefs have mentioned that. That's aboard the starters rostrum, and that is our pole sitting driver. Miguel Molina then with a 1:16.619 put that car on pole position, with his Mark mate alongside him, Jamie Green in P2. So the cars released then on their formation lap. And it's a fantastic sound as the DTM cars roar off the line. around this Lausitzring circuit. As I said, good crowd of people here to enjoy race day number 1. It's clouded over a bit now, and this is a fantastic shot of just how tight that turn 1 is. The Audi supporters wave their flags. There was one lowly Mercedes flag in that bunch of Audis that were being waved in the main grandstand. This is race 5 of the season. From here we go to a very different circuit. Of course, the street circuit at Lausitzring, Nuremberg, then it's Zandvoort, Moscow in Russia, then Nürburgring, and of course the grand finale a bit later in the year at Hockenheim. And of course we have Budapest in the mix as well. So the starting grid once again on screen for you. Molyneux Green, then it's Wittmann, Wickens, then our Vitoris, Ekstrom, Martin, Tombe, Muller, Paffett, Rocky, then it's Timo Glock, Mortara, Spengler, Ocon, Scheider, Blomqvist, Antonio Felix da Costa, Gertz, De Resta, Jungadea, Farfus, and Martin Tomczyk right at the back of the pack.
That's right.
Former champion who just cannot seem to dial it all in at the moment.
He tends to race better than he qualifies, though, doesn't
Yes.
he, Martin? We saw him storming through the order a couple of times at Hockenheim at the start of the season, and he has won here in the past in 2011, the season in which he won the championship. 4 winners so far from the 4 races. Edo Mortara in the first race at Hockenheim, Paul de Resta in the second. They went to Spielberg a couple of weeks ago for the Red Bull Ring. Marco Wittmann was a winner, and Timo Glock making it 2 BMW victories. Could we get a 5th different winner here? Jamie Green, as you hear from Molyneux, who's been guided into his start grid area there to make sure he just gets it in exactly the right place. Jamie Green won both the races last year and started the championship like a rocket ship with 3 wins out of 4, but with race results giving you success ballast last year, the car got heavier and heavier as the year went on, and he struggled to get in the points towards the end of the year and ended up fading down the championship. This time he's got to play catch-up. I asked him if there was any benefit in that, in terms of, you know, psychologically you can just go for it now, but he didn't feel that there was really. Maybe a little bit, he said, in terms of you're not defending the position.
Last car standing now. Keep pushing, my friend.
So Molyneux being advised when the last car makes it to the grid, which provokes this marshal to wave the green flag as we're about to get race number 5 underway. The lights are at the top of your screen. This is the Lausitzring. This is DTM. Let's go racing. Molyneux and Green from the front row. Marco Wittmann, Maxime Martin trying to make a move. Blistering start from one of the Mercedes there, whether that was Lucas Auer or Christian Vitoris, as Molyneux and Green are side by side going into turn number 1. Who's going to come out in front? I think it could be Jamie Green.
He's done it. Tremendous move coming out of turn 2. The Audi in the lead of the race. Going out wide there. I think it was Marco Wittmann, wasn't it? In the BMW, the Red Bull liveried car. So he drops back to 4th place now. So it's Green who leads the way. Molyneux still side by side for 2nd place. Robert Wickens coming back under fire now from the 2014 champion Marco Wittmann in the BMW. Who are we going to get in 3rd place? Wittmann, he's down to 4th. So he tried to fight back. He couldn't. And Lucas Auer, as you say, getting a very good start in 5th place. His teammate Vitoris tucks in behind in 6th. Then it's Eki in 7th.
So Jamie Green leading the race then. Absolutely brilliant start. He remained utterly committed to it and stayed with it, and he finds himself in front. So Jamie Green leading from Molyneux. Then it is Robert Wickens up into P3. Then Marco Wittmann, Lucas Auer. As out onto the gravel goes Gary Paffett, rejoins. Pushed off track for Gary Paffett. You could hear there on the team radio.
That's got to be more than a warning. That's ridiculous.
Well, good thing about Gary Paffett's team radio is you know that it's always going to be polite and in the Queen's English.
Well, we can think about that sort of thing and have a chat while he's trying to drive a car at the ridiculous speeds that these DTMs do, these 4-litre V8s. Who knows? But he's been doing it so long, it's second nature, isn't it?
And Gary is one of those that's really been very vocal about driving standards, and for him to have been pushed off the track, I mean, that's just reinforcing his anger, really, isn't it?
Augusto Farfus trying not to be in last place at the moment. Who would have thought that Augusto, who's such a quick driver normally, would be back there today. But that's it with DTM, isn't it? You can be a great driver. One day, one weekend you're at the front, the next weekend you're at the back because it's so close. You don't become a bad driver overnight. No. It's just that they are all really good drivers in very quick cars.
Well, Green then over that sector line now with Molyneux staying with him, but Green has got something of a seconds margin, as all over the back of that Audi is Timo Glock there. And we're on board with Bruno Spengler now, following Mike Rockenfeller, and there was Gary Paffett returning on track. That a replay of him going off the track, and we're on board with Gary Paffett now, and you can actually almost feel that clunk into the side of his car. So his venom is pretty justified, I feel.
Car 6, Robert Wickens, under investigation, forcing another driver to leave the track. So that was not the Gary Paffett incident, because they're miles apart at the moment. That was presumably the incident involving Marco Wittmann when they were battling over third place. So maybe we'll get to see that again. But DRS after the first lap enabled, so if you're within a second of the car ahead, you can open it up. You get 18 degrees angle change on your rear wing. It's like having a boost of power, and you can use that up to 3 times in a lap wherever you want during the course of the lap. But they're given a number of credits, Dave, which varies from race to race depending on the circuit, and even if you only use one DRS button on the lap, you still get 3 credits taken away from you. So
yes,
you've got to be careful not to use them all up too soon.
It was a fantastic onboard shot with Timo Glock. You could actually see his feet working the pedals and the left foot braking that these drivers use around these circuits. That was really, really good to watch.
It's Timo Glock with a good move.
Well, to be fair, Tombo just seemed to make a mistake, didn't he, and leave the door wide open. And, well,
just take it easy with the tires. 30 laps to go.
I think that's a good move from Timo, because he just left it to the last millisecond to pull out, didn't he? And Adrian was just taking the racing line into the corner. So sort of a karting type move, that wasn't it? Flinging it up the inside. But Timo, full of confidence, enjoying himself. He said to us in the press conference yesterday, he's not really doing anything different, he doesn't feel, that he has in previous years. But it's with a new team this year, it's clicking. And he said, most of all, I'm just enjoying it. It's good fun at the moment.
Yes. Tombe gets the black and white flag for forcing another driver off the track then, and we'll await any more penalties that might be issued in due course, or warnings that might be issued in due course. In the meantime, Jamie Green then leads the race over Molyneux, who's been warned just to not take too much out of the tyres in the early stages of this race, hasn't he?
Yeah, because that's the heaviest car as well. All the Audis are heaviest based on the fastest driver's fastest theoretical lap time, which of course was Miguel Molina, the pole sitter. So that car, with the accumulation of weight now, is 1,125 kilograms. It's 15 kilograms heavier than the Mercedes and 7.5 kilograms heavier than the BMWs, which had a bit of weight taken off them after qualifying this morning.
Now, of course, Molina will have the benefit of DRS to attack Jamie Green with, seemingly doing so at the moment, as we're on board now with Christian Vittoris. You just saw the Lucas Au rear wing flick back up, didn't you? And it goes down again now as the third and final DRS deployment for that particular lap is used by Lucas Au, who is running in P5. Wittmann is P4, Wickens P3, Molina P2, and of course Jamie Green leading the race. And there is Jamie Green, and Robert Wickens getting ever closer to Miguel Molina now. Suspect that Molina may not challenge Jamie Green too much, although actually he is getting a bit closer. But Robert Wickens, of course, would like to reel in the pair of those Audis ahead of his Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, Wickens was a fraction quicker last time around. In fact, Molina and Wickens were both a couple of tenths quicker than Jamie Green. He did a 1 minute 18.6. They were both 1:18.4. So too was Marco Wittmann in the BMW, 1 minute 18.4 for him as well. In fact, he's fractionally the quicker of the two. Oh dear, we got a couple off here.
Esteban Ocon is one of them.
And Martin Tomczyk, the BMW, yeah. So the Mercedes of Ocon, former FIA Formula 3 European champion, gets going again. Tomczyk will as well, I think, but that's going to put
the car was grabbing, I think.
Was it?
Tomczyk's, yes.
This is what happened. We just got the back end of that, didn't we? Well, that was at turn 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, just as they come back on.
We can see through turn 7 out of the window. Martin Tomczyk's car has got smoke pouring out the back of it.
Well, Molina really, really closed in on Jamie Green then, just as you were calling that from the window. He got ever closer, and I really thought he was going to go for it then. Now, of course, Jamie Green is having to do this without the benefit of DRS. Bear in mind that the cars behind Molina and Robert Wickens have both got DRS as they head back onto the oval now, heading towards turn number 6, where they turn back in onto the infield section. There is the Martin Tomczyk car. Now, if that stays there, that's going to cause a real problem because it's on the. I mean, he's just trying to limp it back, and that's. I thought I saw it grabbing.
The race leaders are about to approach him as well. They're just coming up to him now. He
Oh.
makes it to there are the race leaders, look, on the way into turn 8. So, badly crabbing. He's just trying to avoid a long walk back to the paddock because that car's going nowhere in the race.
Tomczyk is slow on track, but should be no problem.
Did the right thing there, Martin. He got well out of the way, didn't he, and stopped.
Experienced racer, isn't he? And as you say, did exactly the right thing. So the car's absolutely flying us back out onto the start-finish straight. They come now. Is Molyneux going to have another go on Jamie Green? I don't think he's as close this time as he was last time. Certainly not going to dive towards the inside. Jamie Green has got it all seemingly under control at the moment. And these two Audis are now just beginning to pull away, I think, from the Robert Wickens Mercedes.
Yeah, which in turn is coming under more and more pressure from Marco Wittmann in the leading BMW. The number 11 car was 3/10 quicker than the Mercedes, so third being caught by fourth. You've also got Lucas Hauer on a really good pace. In fact, he's the quickest man on track, bar one at the moment. He's quicker than everybody in front of him. The quickest man on track is Matthias Ekstrom in 7th place. He's just at a 1:18.4, which is 4/10 quicker than most of the front runners ahead of him, as Martin Tomczyk crabs his way back into the pits.
It's caused some significant damage to that car, hasn't it, for that to be grabbing like that. So Green and Molyneux then staying absolutely welded together. But Jamie Green with the measure of it at the moment. Robert Wickens now having to think more about defending against Marco Wittmann rather than trying to attack Miguel Molyneux, which has almost released the two Audis, hasn't it? Molyneux's rear wing goes down. Jamie Green's, of course, doesn't. That gives Molyneux the little boost, but is the little boost going to be
Martin,
enough?
please take the memory stick. Please take the memory stick.
Yes, it is. This time around, he's run alongside Jamie Green. Jamie gives him racing room. There's no point the two of them clattering together because, of course, now Jamie Green will get the DRS.
And look how much closer Robert Wickens is. The Canadian driver in the Mercedes has had a good lap. Combining that with the battle ahead of him, it's brought him right into the mix here. So new race leader, the pole sitter, back ahead of Jamie Green. Then it's Wickens, Wittmann and Hauer are coming into this as well. Esteban Ocon is going to get a drive-through penalty for his part in that incident with Martin Tomczyk. So Esteban mighty in single-seater racing in the last few years, but hasn't had a particularly happy start to his DTM career so far. Still pointless. Here's a replay of the move into turn 1. And actually, it was a long way back coming on to the straight, but it shows you what the DRS does here. And just glided past. Jamie saw it coming, had an eye on him all the time, and let the fellow Audi driver through, because there's still a long way to go. And as you say, he now gets the benefit of DRS, but he's just got to be a little bit careful of this group that's catching them up behind.
Okay, so it's all changed at the front then as Molyneux then takes over the lead from Jamie Green. And it's Wickens, Wittmann, Hauer, Vittoris, Ekstrom, who seemingly is on a real charge now and is almost on the back of Christian Vittoris, isn't he? And now Marco Wittmann takes a look at Robert Wickens as they go into that turn 1. Wickens firmly but forcefully closes the door and says, oh no you don't, you're not coming through. Well, the pressure really is mounting on Robert Wickens now, which means that he's slipping back from the two Audis of Molyneux and Green, that are able just to eke out a bit of a gap between the rest of this pack following, and this splitter cam is absolutely fantastic.
Esteban Ocon has just come in to serve his drive-through penalty in the Mercedes, so I'll put him even further down the order in the number 34 car. He's last of the remaining 23 runners. Tomczyk, the only driver out of the race, and look at Molyneux.
Wickens will fall out of DRS.
Molyneux falling away, pulling away from everybody here.
So that means, as Team Radio said, that's going to play into the hands of Marco Wittmann, who will have DRS, and of course Robert Wickens ahead of him won't. But this man is on a charge, isn't he, Matthias Ekstrom, right on the back of Christian Vittoris, which is the first of the pink Mercedes you see ahead of him. We're on board with Matthias Ekstrom now. To the timing line they come then. Molyneux has done a great job in terms of getting away from Jamie Green, hasn't he?
Yeah, he really got his head down, didn't he, as soon as he got the move done, and trying to break away from that DRS zone. He's not far off either, 0.8 seconds. If he can be more than 1 second clear at the start line, then he'll have Jamie Green struggling a little bit. Here's a replay of the start, and it was a good clean getaway from the first 4 rows, really. Lucas had the first of the bright pink Muka cars to the left, got a really good run, but couldn't actually make it pay dividends into the first corner. There was a bit of contact there. Timo Glock getting a
little shove.
Yeah, a little
Rocky.
shove from Mark Rockenfeller, yeah. And then Jamie Green just dug in, didn't he? He knew eventually he'd have the better line and we'll be able to get ahead of Molyneux.
So we see this looking backwards from on board. We're looking at the Mercedes of Robert Wickens now.
This is from Jamie Green, isn't it?
Yeah. Jamie had to remain absolutely committed. He did, and that was Bosch. Close the door, job done. However, Molyneux is doing the job now, isn't he? As he crosses the timing line, he needed to find another couple of tenths to get himself out of the and he's done it. Because Green is now a full second behind.
Yeah, Molyneux going well. He's only had 1 win in DTM. He's been racing for a while now. 2010 was his debut season. Jamie Green, on the other hand, is one of the long-serving members of DTM, along with Matthias Ekstrom and Gary Paffett. 12 wins in his career. 4th most successful driver on the grid currently in terms of race wins. Behind Ekstrom, Paffett and Spengler, another former champion. Here he is, the 05 champion, then a multiple championship runner-up as well. Let's not forget, he's only won the title once, Gary, but he's come mighty close to winning it several times. And he's still fighting, and he's still quick. There he is in the blue and yellow Euronics-backed Mercedes, trying to get himself a little bit further up the order here. But it's so tight out there. There aren't that many overtaking opportunities that it's going to be hard work for him. Here he comes. Timo Glock's trying to make good progress forward as well. He's just about in the points at the moment. Timo running in 10th position. Gary is just at the back of the shot in 17th place as they came down into the turn.
So Timo then, who is currently running P10. It's a fantastic onboard shot, and Timo really working hard. Just the fast part of the circuit down the start-finish straight, and then very heavy braking before turning in to that tight turn at number 1, then this sweeping S section before you rejoin part of the original oval by getting ever so close to the really rather unforgiving concrete wall there.
Which Timo Glock glanced in qualifying this morning, didn't he? I think he'll probably not be the only one to do that during the course of the weekend as well. But you know, if you want to get up to top speed as quickly as possible onto that start-finish straight and line yourself up with a chance to pass into turn 1, you've got to get as close to it as you dare.
For the moment, Wickens has held off the charge from Marco Wittmann, hasn't he?
The gap to the car behind is 0.7. 0.7 behind, 1.4 to the front.
So that was his team radio. This is Jamie Green hard at work. We saw Hans-Jürgen Abt on the Audi pit wall just moments ago. But
okay, Robert. DRS, Green has 4.
Just how, looking at Jamie Green, how that neck is being forced, and a point I made in an earlier, might have been in the qualifying show this morning, is this has got an odd number of turns that are not expected, or not expected, not usual, I should say.
Yeah, anti-clockwise, and so normally more right-handers than left. It's the other way around here, and naturally, although they're super fit all over, in terms of their bodies and their muscles, the drivers have stronger neck muscles to cope with the right-handers. So here, just resting the head a bit. There's only the one really quick left-hander. It's the one coming onto the straight. And that was, as we saw it, a dive at the inside from Tara on Timo Glock. That was on board with Timo. He's into turn 1. Thought he was going to get the place back on the way out of the corner, but the line was covered off very nicely indeed, wasn't it? So Matara into the points. Glock out of the points, up to 10th place now for Edo, who had that retirement in the second race at Spielberg. I spoke to him last week and he said, I felt I could have won that race. I had good pace in that one, but wasn't to be. And that's second in the championship, although Paul, the rest of the championship leader, didn't score any points either, so it kept him only 3 points behind the championship leader here, and Paul the rest a long way back down the grid, as you said, although he's made a few up. He's into 15th place now.
Yes. So Paul di Resta up into P15. As there is Jamie Green going through, Robert Wickens, Marco Wittmann, then out and Vittoris Ekstrom, Martin Muller, Mortara Glock, Spengler, Antonio Felix da Costa, Mike Rockefeller, Paul di Resta, and Gary Paffett now is P16. We're on board with Matthias Ekstrom, the Team Abt driver, who is P7 at the moment. Chasing down that Mercedes-Benz of Christian Vittoris ahead, but seemingly making quite as much progress towards that target as maybe he would like. DRS being used, as you can see, the rear wing drops down, then returns back up again once the DRS has been deployed. 3 times per lap it can be used. So perhaps Eki just getting a little bit closer now. Meantime, Molina leading by a 2.1 second margin over Jamie Green. He's up the road and very nearly in Dresden.
Yeah, and 2 tenths quicker on that lap as well, so the gap grows, 2.3 seconds. There's Lucas Auer front of the shot, the first of the bright pink Muka Motorsport cars, the very, very successful Berlin-based team, so this is one of their home races. Lots of single-seater experience as well, Peter Muka's team. In fact, Lucas Auer was one of their drivers when he raced in European Formula 3 and was one of the front runners in that championship before coming into DTM, teammate to Gary Paffett last year in the Fred Vasseur's team, the ART Grand Prix team. Look how close they get to the wall as they come through. The camera shakes, the wall will not move though. If you hit it, you're going to come off worst. And there's just millimetres, isn't there, between the car and the mirror and that concrete wall, and it's a success difference between being very quick on a lap and being out of the race is, you know, just a narrow margin. So the race leader, Molina, 2.3 seconds clear of Jamie Green. Robert Wickens, the best of the Mercedes, in third. And then Marco Wittmann, 2014 champion, in 4th place. He's one of only 2 BMWs in the points at the moment. Maxime Martin is the other one, back in 8th place. So Marco driving well here. He's been the leading light for BMW on a number of occasions. Got the win last time out in Austria. He's 5th in the championship. And all weekend long, really, in the free practice sessions, Dave, it's Marco that's been the BMW driver that seems to be taking the fight to the other 2 manufacturers.
Yes, you're right. This splitter cam now on the car through the turns now. Hope we stay with this when we rejoin on the oval. Sadly, we didn't. There is Molina, who really has checked out, hasn't he? And there's Jamie Green, Robert Wickens going through. Then it's Wittmann, Vittoris, and Matthias Ekstrom. And they've pulled away a little bit from Maxime Martin, who's running in P8. Then it is Mortara P9, and Nico Muller rounding out the top 10 at the moment. The order on the left-hand side of your screen as well. We're on board with Gary Paffett, who's having to fight his way from being forced off the track. It was P16 that Gary Paffett is in at the moment with his mark mate Paul di Resta, and points leader going into this race ahead of him in P15.
That's right, there is Mike Rockefeller on the tail of Antonio Felix da Costa. Rockefeller, one of 5 DTM drivers that took part in the Nürburgring 24 hours last weekend. Christian Vittoris almost won. His team almost got on the that historic name of winners, so they're overtaken their team by another Mercedes driven by Maro Engel on the very last lap of the race. So yesterday, Christian saying it's still great to him when he thinks about it. He's been thinking about it all week, just how close he came. He'll have to go back and have another go, but he drove well, Christian. Here comes Mike Rockefeller, then DRS open, down the inside of Antonio Felix da Costa, but Felix da Costa will try and get him back on the run, round into turn 2, and does exactly that, the Portuguese driver. He saw it coming, Dave. He let him go because he knew there was no way Mike was going to be able to stop the car and make the corner in time. It's a brave attempt, but of course when you've got the DRS open, Dave, you're carrying much more speed into the corner than normal, so you have to brake a bit differently.
And what that little battle between the 2 of them, of the place swap and then swap back again, has allowed Paul di Resta and Gary Paffett to get right on terms with them now. So the BMW and the Audi now very much in the target sights of certainly Paul di Resta and also potentially Gary Paffett, because their swapping of places and swapping back again here just allowed them to get ever closer. And this in replay, and you can see, just as they were jostling their positions, how these two Mercedes drivers were able to close the gap a little bit more.
Well, Molina is looking very convincing here, isn't he? He's bit by bit pulling away from Jamie Green. Another 2/10 on that lap, so 2.6 seconds the difference. Christian Vittoris has found somewhere a bit more pace the last couple of laps. He was falling away from Lucas Auer. The last lap, he was the quickest man on the circuit with a 1:18.2, and he took 3/10 out of him. He's a bit quicker on that. This lap just gone as well. Having another go here is Mike Rockenfeller. Glances down the inside, but it would have had to be a lunge again, and he knows what happens if he lunges. He runs out of road, so he sensibly, I think, backs off that time. He hasn't got... Well, he's got pressure in terms of two cars right behind him, but they're not all over the back of him at the moment. Di Resta, I'm sure, will go for it if he gets a chance. If you're the championship leader and you've got any chance of progressing towards the top 10 and some points, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Absolutely, you are. And I just wonder into that turn one whether Rocky was trying to sell him a dummy ahead of him, but in any event, wasn't able to do anything. But I do think the beneficiary of these two fighting is Paul Di Resta and Gary Paffett, potentially. Well, you were mentioning about how close we get to the wall. There, one bent door mirror indicates from Eduardo Mortara. That's how close you sometimes get. Now, bearing in mind how delicate these cars are, too many of those little clunks against the concrete ain't going to help it, is it?
That's right. There's lots of bits of aero kit on these cars, isn't there? Huge amounts, in fact. So the car of Lucas Auer really seems to have got the hurry up from his teammate Vittoris, and he's got back onto the tail now of Marco Wittmann. You're only talking 1.5 tenths second lap difference, but that's enough to get you in the mix here. Timo Glock then going back on the attack. Nico Muller is the driver ahead of him. Nico got his first ever DTM podium the first weekend of the season at Hockenheim. He was one of the 4 different pole sitters that we had coming into this weekend as well. So they're battling on the fringe of the points. There is Timo Glock, currently 11th place. Worst place to be in a sense this day, because if you're 11th, you might as well be 24th, because you're not going to get any points.
And this was where Timo went to the outside. Nico, to be fair, got it all perfectly under control, I think. And just dealt with the corner perfectly, and there was just nowhere for Timo to go, even if he wanted to try and make a move. But Timo maintaining the pressure on Nico Muller. And all of a sudden now, you're absolutely right. Lucas Auer has been given a hurry up, hasn't he? And he's all over the back of Marco Wittmann.
He's on for his best ever finish in DTM as well. It's only his second season, but Lucas Auer, the Austrian driver, best result so far has been a 6th place finish. Look at the sparks as they bottom out here. See what I mean about the circuit being a little bit bumpy around the outside. He tries to go. Lucas Auer here. Marco Wittmann a bit deep. And now Lucas Auer has a big lunge up the inside, and then has to stand on the brakes, and he gets a big lock up there, and almost that sent him into a spin, but he just about caught it. It was a real heart-in-mouth moment, that though, and Marco Wittmann fends him off, and now this brings Christian Vittoris, his teammate, into the mix as well. Eki won't be far behind. It was a brave move that from Lucas Auer, but it's got to be a little bit careful. He's still 5th though.
How early on Marco Wittmann dived to the inside to protect that inside line. It was extraordinary. He knew that it was coming, and he was going to do everything he could to protect against it. And fair play to Lucas Auer. He remained committed, didn't he? And was going around the outside, which would have given him the inside.
You can use DRS until the end. It's 12 laps left around.
Okay, so Vittoris got DRS all the way to the end of the race.
Yeah, as in, you know, he can use it every lap now, and he won't run out. So they can't take how many pushes he gets, and he'll be okay. The green display in the back of the car this year is new. It tells you what position the cars are in. If that ever goes red, it tells you they've run out of DRSs. So, I'm not sure we've seen it yet, have we? But it's something to keep an eye on.
So we're on board with Bruno Spengler, who's running in P12. You can see the Timo Glock car ahead in P11. And Auer and Wittmann once again, but this time it'll take Auer a couple of laps to get as close again, isn't it? Getting close he does now. Now, interestingly, Wittmann's LED display is red.
So too is Timo Glock's.
Okay, Chris, Lucas has 2 more laps of DRS. 2 more laps of DRS.
Not only keeping an eye on what your driver's doing, but trying to figure out how much the others have got left in terms of DRS. So, first time, really, that we've seen them starting to run out. It's just the sprint race as well. Longer race tomorrow. They will get more passes. It's not always the same. It varies from circuit, varies from race to race as well, depending on the length of the race. But yeah, Wittmann out, which is good news for Lucas Auer if he's got a couple more laps left he can have a really big attempt here to get through.
It does make Marco very vulnerable, doesn't it?
Yeah. Although that said, effectively he hasn't had it for a while anyway.
No.
He's more than a second away from Robert Wickens, and he can only use it to attack, not to defend.
So on board once again with Bruno Spengler through this infield section. And now Lucas Auer close once again to Marco Wittmann. Which way will Wittmann go? Will he defend the inside? No, chooses to stay outside, and Vitoris getting ever closer to Auer now. So of course Lucas Auer is now not only having to think about trying to attack Marco Wittmann, but also try and defend from his markmate behind him, Christian Vitoris, and teammate as well.
That's right. The gap between the top two has stayed stagnant for a couple of laps now. Jamie Green has been a few hundreds quicker than the race leader for the last 2 laps, but the gap's still at a pretty comfortable 2.5 seconds. Still pushing hard though is Robert Wickens. He's only 0.7 of a second behind Jamie Green. Here's a replay of Bruno Spengler just using the DRS to great effect there, almost before he got to the braking zone. He was through ahead of Timo Glock, and that will be for 11th place, just outside the points now for Bruno Spengler, who's made good progress from the 8th row of the grid. There's 2nd and 3rd, that's a pretty tight gap, and then 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th going through shot now, close as they ever were. Maxime Martin has got nobody to play with at the moment, currently running in 8th place. Then it's Edo Motara and Nico Muller, the other drivers in the points.
Okay, Robert, the Audis in front are not using
Auer has only 1 lap left.
So if you want to be there at the end, make sure you've got 1 DRS left in the end of the lap race. 10 laps to go.
Interesting.
Yeah, keep one for the end.
Yes.
And yeah, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? He's winding it up, and Marco Wittmann is really having to defend here, Dave. Really having to defend.
Yes. Lucas Auer was winding it up as well, wasn't he? As he's desperately trying to get past Marco Wittmann, and Christian Vitoris is really involved in that as well. What a fantastic shot that is from the front of the Christian Vitoris car, and Matthias Ekstrom's buying into that battle as well. So actually these two Mercedes could become very vulnerable, couldn't they?
Yeah, and we just saw the back end of this, but Lucas using the DRS really putting the pressure onto the BMW driver now. Marco Wittmann still fending him off, still hanging on to 4th position. Just putting the car on the racing line. He's not over-defending, he's not weaving, he's just sticking to his guns, isn't he?
And now it's Christian Vitoris who's under pressure. Look how he's dropped back from Lucas Auer now, because he's having to defend from the Audi driver Matthias Ekstrom behind him. So the Team Ad Sportsline driver Matthias Ekstrom really putting the pressure, and is right on the back of the Christian Vitoris car.
9 laps to go, and you have 7 laps DRS left. 9 laps to go, you have 7 laps DRS left.
So Ekstrom okay for 7 of the 9 laps. With regards to DRS then, as again Auer taking a look at Wittmann, and if you needed to see a lesson in perfect driving from Marco Wittmann, and indeed elongating the width of that car, he's doing a great job of it at the moment, because whatever Lucas Auer tries, he's being denied.
Yeah, it's really good driving by Marco, isn't it? Really good defensive driving. He's fending off that Mercedes with all the extra, effectively, the extra grunt it gets when it's using that DRS. But he knows that the point at which he has to defend, he knows what's coming. The longer it goes on, the more he knows what's going to happen into turn 1, and he's able to prepare himself for the defence of it. But through the twisty sections, through the some of the second gear corners, he looks pretty fluid, doesn't he? Lots of second gear corners here. Jamie Green saying it's not a thrilling lap, this, in many respects, in the infield. Not really fast attacking corners that the drivers like. But equally, it's tricky, it's technical, because it's easy to lose lap time through slow corners by losing traction.
Lucas Auer gonna. Well, this is interesting, because Auer has got DRS left and Vitoris hasn't now.
In front, 0.6. Pace is good. 8 more laps.
Yeah, here comes Eki. And their defending is the Muka Mercedes, but what can he do? Just around the outside of him drives Ekstrom, and nothing he could do. Auer's already fallen back behind his teammate.
Yes, so Vitoris has got ahead of him, hasn't he?
Yeah, because of this lack of DRS, I think, as well.
And that's how it happened.
Yeah, make it too hard. I think they're probably realising that Vitoris has got a better chance, because he's got the DRS to go on the attack of Wittmann and try and get 4th place, because he's another one that's run out.
Jamie Green is under a bit of pressure now, isn't he? As Robert Wickens is really with him once again. It was at 6/10, it's now 3/10. So looking back from the Jamie Green car at the front end of the Robert Wickens Mercedes. So on the left-hand side of your screen, those that are out of DRS illuminated in red, Wittmann, Auer and Glock. And what have we got? 7 minutes of the race just over left to run. There is our race leader. There is Jamie Green, and Robert Wickens perhaps not quite close enough. He'll edge closer, presumably, but I don't think close enough to be able to take him into turn one, and sure enough, he doesn't.
So Jamie Green safe for now. Certainly after, I mean, he looked quick at Hockenheim, but he got hit in one race and then in trouble, then another, retired from the race, and then Spielberg. It was good to see him back on the podium, and he's back up there again now. So opposite start to the year, in fact, what he had in 2015 when he was so dominant, but the form is there, the car is good, and he's in the mix as Vitoris has a glance at the inside of Wittmann. This battle for 4th place, but Marco's still there. It's a different pink car on his tail now, different driver, but the same result, that the BMW stays ahead.
Well, for my money, I think what Wickens is perhaps even marginally closer once again, but it's all very well being closer and being on the tail. You've got to try and find a way past, haven't you, with time running out. We've just got 6 minutes of the race left to run here. It's race 1, DTM, Lausitzring. On board with Matthias Ekstrom, who of course has got Lucas Auer behind, Christian Vitoris ahead.
6 more laps.
Lucas Auer, though, out of DRS is no problem. Christian Vitoris with DRS, but Christian Vitoris also having to fight with Marco Wittmann ahead. And this time just takes a look at the inside once again, but nothing doing, and is falling into the claws a little bit of Matthias Ekstrom, I fear now.
Yeah, just showing his nose there, but it was kind of half-hearted attempt, wasn't it? I think he knew he wasn't going to get through. He was just trying to put a bit of pressure on Wittmann. Wittmann is not moving at the moment. He's driving really well here. Perfect defensive race so far, as you say. Here is the view on board. Christian Vitoris then in 5th place in the Mercedes, trying to find a weakness somewhere in Marco Wittmann, but also now with an eye on the mirrors of the Audi of Matthias Ekstrom. So there's those four battling 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, still tied together. Coming through shot just in front of that was Robert Wickens, still glued to the rear bumper and the rear wing of Jamie Green. Of course, he's going to have millions of DRSs left because he hasn't really been running behind anybody for that great length of time. So Wickens, if he goes for it, he's got to time it right, so that there's no chance for Green to try and get him back with his DRS.
So there is Molyneux.
Come over, 5 more laps, 5 more laps.
Very soothing, calming team radio voice Robert Wickens' engineer has.
Mercedes bounces and skips down that straight, doesn't it? Visibly so. What you can say here is that Marco Wittmann must be getting a really good run, Dave, coming out onto that back straight, because they use the DRS to close up, but he's already pulled away by enough coming onto the straight to make life a little bit easier, hasn't he?
So back on board with this fantastic splitter can right low down at the front of the car. 4/10 is all there is between them. Christian has not been able to find a way past yet. And as you've said, Chris, is driving, very, very fast, very well, and very accurately. He's keeping the race in line, isn't he? He's not being pressured. He's not failing under the pressure of knowing that he has Vitoris behind him. I think Vitoris just slipping away a little bit now, and Ekstrom, there was a little lock up there.
Understood, understood. 4 more laps, 4 more laps.
Didn't quite catch that. Was it something about saving the engine? Yeah, I'm quite sure. But they're pushing each other on because in their little battle they've got a bit closer to the race leader in all of this. The gap's down to less than 2 seconds for the first time in most of the race, really.
Okay.
So nothing for Molyneux to worry about, but the gap's coming down.
Okay, Robert, that is okay to grab some fresh air and go out of the slipstream, but be wary of debris on the track.
Okay, so he was trying to save the engine in terms of not overheating it by running in the toe too long.
Now, Lucas Auer.
So your gap behind is huge. It's almost 6 seconds. Almost 6 seconds. 3 more laps.
I just think Lucas Auer is beginning to take this hunt back to Matthias Ekstrom a little bit.
Yeah, even though he hasn't got DRS.
Yeah.
So, yeah, driving well, Lucas Auer here. And keeping up with the double champion, Matthias Ekstrom, who in turn is keeping up with Vitoris. That's all very calm.
Isn't it?
But,
3 laps to go.
yeah, it's all very calm, isn't it, at HWA. Mercedes engineer, quite a lot of conversations and chats with Robert Wickens as he runs in third place towards the end of this lap. Minute and a half left on the clock then. Another lap at the end of the time running out. And gap's gone back out now from first to second, so it was coming down for a few laps running, got down from 2.5 to 1.9 seconds, but Molyneux has just put a quick lap in, 1 minute 18.376 to grow his advantage once again. And Green was a fraction quicker than Wickens on that lap as well, by a tenth or so.
So staying on board. Everyone's spacing themselves out a bit now, with less than a minute left to run. I wonder if Lucas Auer's going to have a cheeky go at Matthias before the end of the race, because he's kept with him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done well. He hasn't scored points yet this season, Lucas Auer. This has been by far his best run. The race leader comes through. 36 seconds left on the clock, so at the end of this one the time will have ticked down. Then another lap, and just in the background as well, Maxime Martin has been struggling a bit the last couple of laps, so Muller was 2 seconds behind him. He's only half a second behind him now. 9th and 10th, those two are currently running in for the minor points.
So some super slow-mo replays of our race leader, Miguel Molina. Running in P1. Jamie Green is P2. Robert Wickens P3. Before Marco Wittmann, Christian Vitoris, Matthias Ekstrom, Lucas Auer, Eliseo Mortara, Maxime Martin, and Nico Muller rounding out the top 10. And Robert Wickens having slipped back a bit from Jamie Green to let the car run in cooler air. And a supreme defensive drive from Marco Wittmann to see off the charge and challenge from first of all Lucas Auer, then Christian Vitoris, and he's done it all faultlessly.
Top drive from Miguel Molina as well, hasn't it? Yeah, podiumed here last year with the third place finish, and looking for his second DTM win, the first of which came at Nürburgring last year. Last lap of the race then for Miguel Molina, and he should just be able to cruise this one home now. He's more than 2 seconds clear of Jamie Green, and in turn Jamie is a second and a half clear now of Robert Wickens, so it's looking good for the top three where they are. Marco Wittmann is the only one in the lead group who's still got work to do here, just to defend for one more lap now from Christian Vitoris.
So there is the 1, 2, 3, and then following the Robert Wickens car, it is some time before you get to see Marco Wittmann turn in. Then Christian Vitoris, Matthias Ekstrom, and Lucas Auer as well. So Molina with a stellar job then, and a 2.2 second margin back to the P2 driver Jamie Green. Molina will add another win to his DTM racing story, because he has sufficient margin ahead of Jamie Green that he's certainly not going to be troubled. He wasn't going to be happy taking P2, and he took the race back to Jamie Green, and Miguel Molina wins race 1 here at the Lausitzring. Jamie Green P2, Robert Wickens P3. is pretty happy.
Thank you.
Good job, man. Good job, man. Miguel, slow in lap and pick up. Pick up, please. Pick up.
Hay unas tigres. Aquí está para el pótape. Gracias.
Well,
Hey, Miguel, congratulations. Great job. Great job. Really, really good.
it was certainly
Well, thank you very much for the effort. It was good. The car was fine and easy to drive. Thank you.
Jamie Green got past Miguel at the start of the race. I
Yes.
thought that might be it now. Jamie might be off and on course for his first win of the season. But Miguel Molina, the race winner. Very good race that for Audi with a 1-2. Dieter Gas is speaking to Verena Reed.
Well, congratulations to a fantastic race, double victory, sunshine after all for Audi.
Yes, fantastic. Really, I mean, I enjoyed that race a lot. It was a hot one, especially at the very beginning between Miguel and Jamie as well. But they did really well. And as well the overtaking later on, because I think Miguel was just clearly quicker. And then Jamie got under pressure by Wickens, but he managed to get it to the end. So really, I'm really happy.
I think you can also stress that it was a lot of discipline we saw there between the two drivers and also really, really fair motorsport.
Absolutely. I think most of the field. I mean, one odd crash you always have, but I think in general we did see quite a lot of fighting between different cars, and I hope for the public as well, many people around here, it was a very enjoyable race.
I'm pretty sure. So congratulations. Thank you very much, and back to you guys.
Thank you, Verena. Well, the celebrations go on down there in the pit lane, and here is confirmation of the result then. Miguel Molina taking the win from Jamie Green. Robert Wickens P3, Marco Wittmann P4, Christian Vittoris P5. Then it was Matthias Ekstrom, Lucas Au, Eduardo Mortara, Maxime Martin, Nico Muller in the top 10. Then it was Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock. Before we saw Paul de Resta and Gary Paffett P13 and 14, Antonio Felix da Costa, Maximilian Gertz, Timo Scheider, Daniel Juncker-Dea, Mike Rockefeller, Adrien Tombe, Augusto Farfus, Tom Blomqvist, Esteban Ocon, and of course we lost earlier in the race, Martin Tomczyk, following a coming together with Esteban Ocon. But here comes our race winner. Second win for his DTM tally. It's Miguel Molina.
5 races, 5 different winners now. It's looking good this year, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. And although they're riding high in terms of results, that's the first win for Audi since the very first race of the season at Matara at Hockenheim. So good effort that by Miguel Molina. Drove really well. Jamie Green, I think, will be pretty happy with second place. He's bagging the points. He's a long way down on the front runners in the championship, but he's taking points off them. Paul de Resta out of the points. Eden Matara was only in 8th place, second in the championship. Timo Glock, third in the championship, not in the points. Maxime Martin picked up a few. So, it's all starting to bunch up. If you're in the midfield, you have a good weekend here. And a good weekend next time out at the Norris Ring, which Jamie gets on quite well with, doesn't he, historically?
Rather well, yes.
Just won rather a few races around there. Then, he could be right back in the fight here.
And the thing of it is that this consistency, it's a long season, isn't it? Now with 2 races every weekend, bagging points is critical, isn't it? And as we see Robert Wickens there, Miguel Molina continuing to celebrate. Hans-Jürgen Abt to just over the pit wall there, offering his congratulations. So Marco Wittmann now goes to the top of the Drivers' Championship with Eduardo Mortara P2, Paul de Resta down to P3 now. Then it's Robert Wickens, Maxime Martin, Timo Glock. The top 6 in the points currently.
That's right, Jamie Green up to 8th.
Yeah.
And another good result could be hot on the heels of the front runners, but Miguel Molina has gone from 1 point to 25. What a day for him. And a pretty decent run for Robert Wickens. Pushed hard at the end. 3rd place for him. Let's hear from him now, Verena.
Robert, first of all, congratulations. Good to see you again on podium. That's phenomenal. I mean, after all, you already started off the season very well. Now you're on podium again.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think it's not an easy weekend for us. I mean, a lot of Mercedes kind of all over the field. So in the end, I'm happy. I think P3 was the most we could get today, and yeah, we'll take it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Robert, and back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena. Some super slow-mos of the cars in race action that we've seen. Jamie Green then P2, and this man Miguel Molina then in the Audi RS5 takes the race 5 win. Initially got passed by Jamie Green, but was having none of it and came back at him and was clearly quicker over the course of the race as well. Fantastic win for Miguel Molina. And good for Audi, P1 and P2, with Mercedes P3 and BMW P4. And there positively jumps into his collective engineer's arms to celebrate that win.
BMW is still going to be heading by some distance. The manufacturer's standings, the brand standings, had almost double the points of Audi coming into this weekend, but the gap starting to come back down. We'll have another qualifying session tomorrow, the results of which will change again the weights of the cars ready for the second race of the weekend. And one thing you can guarantee in DTM, Dave, is that what happens one day will not happen the next day. We're not going to get the same result. We're not going to get the same drivers up front. It's going to be mixed all season long, this, as has been shown by the number of different drivers. We've had 11 different drivers on the podium before this race already, and 5 different winners out of 5 now.
Fantastic trophies. What ratio P1 was? Just wondered. Okay, there's some wonderful shots of the cars parked up there, and big crowd here to enjoy the podium ceremony, and still some racing for the crowd to enjoy to come as well. This whole Lausitzring festival that has been put together with the DTM and the ADAC, which features the GT Masters and Formula 4 and also the Porsche Carrera Cup, means there's been an awful lot of racing and motorbikes on track as well. Jamie Green and Robert Wickens having a conversation there just behind the podium.
Jamie looks pretty happy, doesn't he, with second place? I'll start all over again tomorrow. But yeah, really impressed with Molina there. He gave way when he needed to Jamie Green, so there wasn't any hint of taking each other out, and then just chipped away at it, got the move done. And then what was most impressive was how he just went away then for 3 or 4 laps when he really got his head down. He's just had tremendous pace here, hasn't he? That's why he ended up on pole. Wasn't much in it in qualifying, it was only 77 thousandths of a second, but Molina having the longevity in the race.
Came under pressure at points, but dealt with it all, and as you say, he was able to pull away from Jamie Green. Didn't really ever look troubled at all, did he? Advantage and in pace that he had. Fine victory, and there proof of just how happy he was when he had taken the checkered flag and win number 2.
I think he was keen to get on with it, because at that point when he passed Green to get the lead back, he got Robert Wickens and Marco Whitman right behind, and he knew he couldn't afford to hover. Rest of the drivers go for the way in. They're not on the podium, but this man is, Dave. Top step for Miguel Molina.
So, yes, he goes to the top step of the podium. Stand by, Jamie Green on his way. There is Jamie. And Robert Wickens then.
Und nun hören wir zu Ehren des Siegers, zu Ehren von Miguel Molina, zum zweiten Mal in seiner...
So national anthem time for Miguel Molina. So the anthem plays out, the baseball caps go back on, the flags are waved, and Axel Verstorn, then the regional minister of Steiermark, here makes the trophy presentation to Miguel Molina. Matthias Kuiper, then the founder and shareholder of Cave Styler 24, makes the team trophy presentation. Mr. David Stahl, world champion shot putter from 2013, makes the second place trophy presentation.
Could have thrown it, couldn't he?
Goes with Meyer, managing partner of Lausitzring. Make sure that Robert Wickens has his third place trophy. So, being urged by our podium presenter, Ollie Sittler, to get together for the photographs. I have to say, I don't know whether it's the heat, but they're like Karcher pressure washers going off there, aren't they?
Big Willow's driving blind now, isn't he? He's trying to spray them back. We couldn't actually see where anybody was on that podium. They got him good and proper. I shouldn't think he cares.
No.
Oh, he's got it open now. A bit late. They've gone. Yeah, thoroughly good drive, that. Just shows, doesn't it, Dave? People crop up that, you know, some races they're sort of absent, nowhere near the points, and then they can win the next race because, as I said, the depth, the quality of the races is fantastic. Well, Jamie Green, more good points, another podium. He's catching the leaders up. Let's hear from him now. He's with Verena.
Jamie, from P2 to second place, you were fighting like an animal. At one point, you were leading the race. However, I guess Molina was just quicker. But are you happy with the second place?
Yeah, you know, I love fighting for wins, and you got to accept it doesn't always go your way. You know, you can't win them all, but overall, I'm happy to get some points again, 2 podiums in a row, and that gets me further back into the championship ranking, which is, you know, what I'm aiming for. So, yeah, not quick enough to win today, but still a good result.
But it's a long night tonight. Maybe the mechanics can do a little bit of magic. So, you know, tomorrow's another race.
Yeah, we to be honest, this weekend with the GT cars here, the circuit's quite different condition-wise, and I've kind of struggled to get the car working in a way that suits me. So, you know, I'm not surprised that it was not possible to win, but hopefully we can improve it for tomorrow setup-wise.
Looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Jamie, and back to you guys.
Interesting point Jamie makes there that perhaps I hadn't considered, that is that the rubber that's being put down by the GT Masters cars might have an effect on the surface of the tarmac here.
Yeah, certainly, you know, based on what you know from testing, it can make quite a big difference. There are no problems though for Miguel Molina, though, were there? He's the race winner, Verena. What a great drive.
What a great drive indeed. Congratulations, your second victory in your career. I mean, you've got to be smiling from one year to the other.
Yeah, actually, it felt really good in Nürburgring last year, and I only, during all the winter and this start of the season, I was trying to feel this feeling again, and today it could happen. So I'm really happy about my race, about my pace. The car was really good to drive, and yeah, I'm now it's time to celebrate it. And tomorrow we still have another race. We know that we are competitive here, so we will try to take the perfect points from here.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Enjoy the feeling. And here are the highlights of the day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. might turn into one of your favorite tracks. Aber auf Deutsch. Okay? Warte, wenn das Handtuch weg ist, weil das sieht sehr aus nach Rennende.
Müssen das vor.
So, wir haben es jetzt. Ganz kurz. Ready? Und nicht nur letztes Jahr lief es sehr, sehr gut für Jamie Green, sondern du startest heute ja auch auf P2.